African news update on top accolade news. The headlines. Gabon'S Transitional Parliament approves controversial electoral code. Kenya eases travel restriction for African citizens. Trump's gender and diversity orders spark praise and concern across Africa. Zambia's copper production jumps 12% in 2024. In politics, Gabon's Transitional Parliament approves controversial electoral code. Gabon's Transitional Parliament has approved a new electoral code that has sparked controversy and raised concern over the potential ambitions of the junta leader, Brice Oligui Nguema. The bill, passed after several days of debate, allows security forces and magistrates to run for office, which critics argue could favor Nguema's future presidential candidacy. Despite promises to restore civilian rule, there is growing speculation that Nguema may seek the presidency. Opposition parties have called for ban on military members of the Transition Committee from running, while the junta has been ramping up a propaganda campaign to gain public support. The new code also reserves 2 parliamentary seats for the diaspora, permits dual nationals to run for most offices, and transfers electoral organization duties from the local government to the Interior Ministry. Still in politics, Kenya eases travel restriction for African citizens. Kenya has announced a major policy shift allowing citizens from nearly all African countries to visit without the need for prior electronic travel authorization, effective soon. The move aims to promote regional integration, boost tourism, and align with Africa's border effort to ease intracontinental travel. The only exceptions to this new rule are Somalia and Libya due to security concerns. Citizens from East African community nations will enjoy longer stays, up to 6 months. However, Kenya's new system is still under development, with a goal to streamline travel approval, promising instant processing in some cases. Moving on in politics, Trump's gender and diversity orders spark praise and concern across Africa. US President Donald Trump's executive order on gender and diversity has ignited a wave of reactions across Africa, with conservatives praising the move and LGBTQ activists expressing deep concern. The order, which reverts some protection from transgender people and defines sex strictly as male and female, have been welcomed by figures like Bishop John Praise Daniel of Nigeria, who views them as a return to societal order. However, LGBTQ advocates warn of increased discrimination and violence against the LGBTQ community in Africa. Shifting focus to economy, Zambia's copper production jumps 12% in 2024. Zambia's copper production surged by 12% in 2024, reaching approximately 820,676 metric tons, up from 732,583 metric tons the previous year. Mines Minister Paul Kabuswe attributed this growth to increased outputs at existing mines, the resumption of operation at the Konkola copper mines, and the opening of a new mine. As Africa's second largest copper producer, Zambia aims to ramp up its production to 3 million tons annually within the next decade. The sector showed significant improvements in the second half of 2024, boosting the country's economic prospects. You are watching the African News Update on Top Accolade News. Do stay with us. Still to come. Thanks for staying with us. In security, Burkina Faso, Niger, and Mali form unified force to combat jihadist violence. Burkina Faso, Niger, and Mali have announced plans to create a unified 5,000-strong military force to combat jihadist violence that has plagued the region for years. The force, which is set to become operational within weeks, will incorporate aerial, ground and intelligence capabilities, according to Niger's Defense Minister, Salif Umodi. The countries, all of which have experienced military coup between 2020 and 2023, recently formed the Alliance of Sahel States and distanced themselves from their former colonial power, France. With frequent jihadist attacks by groups, the three nations have vowed to strengthen their joint effort to secure their territories and people, especially along their shared borders. Still in security, AMINA Mohammed warns of rising terrorism threats in Africa. Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations, AMINA Mohammed, has warned that Africa has become the epicenter of global terrorism, with sub-Saharan Africa accounting for nearly 59% of all terrorism-related deaths worldwide. Addressing the Security Council, Mohammed emphasized the severe crisis in the Sahel, where terrorism fatalities have exceeded 6,000 for 3 consecutive years. Burkina Faso has seen a staggering 68% increase in terrorism deaths. The rise of terrorist groups, including Al-Qaeda affiliates, have led to a surge of violence in West African coastal nations. Mohammed called for an evolved response to counter terrorism, stressing the importance of human rights and addressing the root cause of violence. Moving to entertainment, John Legend to headline Move Africa in Kigali. Move Africa returns to Kigali on February 21st, headlined by John Legend. The event is part of Global Citizen Tour, which is expanding across East and West Africa this year, with Lagos set to follow on February 25th. Move Africa is a powerful initiative aimed at boosting job opportunities, entrepreneurship, and healthcare system across the continent. This year's event will also focus on driving sustainable development and economic growth across Africa, with an emphasis on strengthening health systems and empowering the next generation of leaders. Now in sports, CAF highlights Morocco's proven track record ahead of hosting AFCON 2025. The Confederation of African Football has praised Morocco's extensive experience in hosting major international football events ahead of the upcoming African Cup of Nations 2025. Highlighting Morocco's successful track record from the 2018 African Nations Championship to the 2022 Women's African Cup of Nations and the 2023 FIFA Club World Cup, CAF emphasized the country's world-class infrastructure and passionate football culture. Morocco's stadiums are set to host the expanded 24-team AFCON, making it one of the most anticipated tournaments in Africa's football history. The opening match will take place on December 21st, 2025, with the final scheduled for January 18th, 2026. That concludes our African news updates for today. Stay tuned for more African news and developments. Thanks for joining us. I am Ojarumi Okocha. Connect and engage with us on all our social media handles. Do have a wonderful day.